We're gonna ban council members from dancing on.
Wow.
Man, boy, you can get out of there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're fine.
All right. Situated there. Sorry about this one.
All right, good morning. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's city council meeting. If we can all stand and recite the pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Wood. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Wilderby.
Here.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Here.
Mayor Zeros.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmember Stroka. Here. Councilmember Lulu.
Here. All right. Item 3, reading and consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 8, 2024. Any corrections or comments on the minutes? All right, seeing none, they are approved as submitted. Do I have a motion to adjourn as the city council and to reconvene as the Board of Zoning Appeals? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, reconvene as the Board of Zoning Appeals. Consideration of a request for a dimensional variance at 360 Carver. The applicant or whoever is speaking on behalf of 360 Carver, please come up to the podium. Give us name, address, please.
My personal address,
Yep.
Jamie Mertz, 360 or 322 Kirby Road.
Okay.
And
Andrew says a 285 Crestwood Boulevard.
Fire away.
You guys put in the reputation.
Yeah.
so we're seeking a height variance for a garage addition. Previous addition to the garage in the rear of the at the rear has been approved on the first floor, but the applicant is seeking storage space of the garage, and the reason for the height variance is that I'm trying to get enough room for storage due to a lack of basement for the house. The residence was a former carriage house, and only it's been built on a slab. We've done additions to the house, but there's an inability to produce a basement for the house. So we sought out the garage as the best avenue for storage, additional storage. So these are the elevations, and then you should have thank you. Okay. So an architectural detail that we added to the garage, so it wasn't just kind of slapping a roof at a certain height on it, is we wanted to match the scale of the existing house, which back in 2020-21 we had to remove the second floor, which was a mansard roof that was added probably 30, 40 years ago, which was caving in. And so we added a substantial second floor over the entire footprint. But we had to build up over the existing ceiling structure that we wanted to preserve and leave intact. So we built technically 18 inches above that ceiling structure, which then raised the entire roof line, still meeting the under our variance restrictions, but it just elevated the house. So we had very tall architecture. So I'm clipping the walls. So we have a knee wall, and then springing from there and using the existing roof line as my just kind of architectural details. So I feel like it's in tune with the architecture of the home. It's obviously a large garage, detached garage, but the architecture is kind of lending towards that. That's the view.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Can you guys go through the, to get variance from this, you have to meet certain conditions, so can you please articulate those for us on the record?
And just say they're on your application, but you should probably go through that because I think we're gonna have some questions on
Sure.
hardship, et cetera.
So item number one, unusual condition, is the lack of basement, which I mentioned. It was self-created due to the current condition of how or not self-created, sorry. Due to the current condition of the slab on grade structure of the existing home. The similar properties that we have precedent over that were passed recently have been 219 Cloverleaf Road and 336 Kirby Road, which are above the height required at 15 feet, and both serve as storage over the garage. And they're both possessing roof pitches steeper than the garage that we're proposing. Again, our hardship is we'd like to modernize the property with the proper structure, as well as give the property the proper storage that we can't give that you normally would get in the basement. And then in terms of being detrimental to a neighboring property. So we have, it's kind of a unique property because it's sitting up on a kind of a hill as Kirby is going down towards Lakeshore. So from the opposite side of Carver, it seems very typical residential kind of flat lot. And then we have behind us the Lakeshore home, which is looking basically back at their garage. And then our garage would be behind that, as well as a heavily wooded tree line. The neighboring Carver property is the garage side. So it's two garages that marry up to each other. Now, we do have a Whitcomb property that has been exposed due to a rotting tree that we had to take down. And that is becoming more visible in the entire project, and the property has been more visible to the Woodcomb side. And the owner has stated that he wants to get the screening back that the tree provided. So he's gonna take measures to address the fence line. Again, close down the screening. And then the grade issue or the grade conditions that we have, it's a retaining situation, and then the grade falls off after a patio will be maintained and also enhanced because it was kind of a barren wasteland, so to speak, that was just overgrown with ivy and shrubbery, kind of just let run amok. And we're gonna tidy that up with new patios and grading, as well as plantings, not only on the patio end, but also down the hill, so to speak, into the more of the ivy.
Drainage for adjacent landowners would improve the project, or will be improved through the other project that we
Sorry, did you say that again? I didn't hear you.
drainage for adjacent landowners will improve because of the project that's already ongoing at the property. We have a second permanent project, which is in addition to the main residence, in addition to the variance request for the garage, which is a second project.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Questions from the ZBA? Lev?
Thank you for your description. I'm still questioning whether or not there's a practical difficulty here. But before I ask you folks any more questions, I'd like to direct a question to Matt Baca. Matt, in the letter that was written to us by Mr. Riley on Whitcomb, at the bottom of his letter, he indicates that the variance in fact should be 26 and a half feet, considering the fact that one property is elevated by the other. And in fact, on this particular property here, a 26-inch high foundation was needed to expand that garage. So are we actually looking at 11? So if you were to add 2 more feet, are we actually looking at 11.5 foot variance here, or are we looking at a 9.5 foot variance?
Well,
How does this whole thing play out as far as you see it?
yeah, thank you. The way the ordinance deals with sloped grade, so the established grade is if it's on flat ground, you measure from the base of the building to the top. If it's on a slope, then you average the 4 sides together. Basically, this, I was not aware, and I think that Mr. Riley's letter brought this situation to our attention, that we would need to know what the average of those sides is to establish a new measurement. You know, this could be dealt with in a couple ways, and I would defer to Mr. Burgess on some of them, but you know, basically you have options where you take the average, you establish a new grade, you take that measurement from there. I don't think it would be 26 inches because it's the average of them all. If that's the case, you know, we did our legal noticing at 9.5 feet. So if you average the grade, most likely it would be more than that. And therefore it could potentially require that this be renoticed, you know, with the new measurement. The other option is to lower the request. The way I understand it, the BZA has the authority to grant a variance of 9.5, which is what was noticed, or less. You just can't go more. That would be difficult to do because we don't know what that average grade is right at the moment, but potentially that's something that could be a condition of approval, you know, for Mr. Burgess. The last one would be to establish a finished grade once the project is done. leveling out the ground and controlling all the drainage in such a manner that it does comply with whatever variance, if a variance is granted, whatever that height might be.
Can I ask a follow-up, just for clarity?
Let him finish.
Louis, if I could ask,
Yeah, go
could
ahead.
ask Bill to comment on that, do you have a comment in particular?
Well, I think Matt has summarized it properly. If you're gonna go to a variance height that exceeds what was noticed, I think you do that tonight. Matt's third option would involve regrading the site so that there is no slope that is at the four-wall perimeter of the garage. I think we have to hear from the applicant whether or not that's both desirable and feasible as an option. If it were, you could make it a condition of the height variance, but you know, you can't go above what's been noticed.
Okay. I'll let the petitioner answer, but I guess my concern is that, first of all, this is a very, at 9.5, if we're agreeing it's 9.5, that's a very, very high bar. I mean, that is a lot of an exception, of a variance. The other properties that you mentioned, I don't know what their practical difficulties were. Every case is different. I understand you did some research, you did a good job, or the gentleman who wrote this letter actually did the research, but these other properties, I don't know anything about those in terms of how much we granted, but 9.5 feet is excessive, and we're supposed to look at that along with alternatives. One of the questions I'll have, and I'll let you know, finish. You mentioned that it seems like the main goal here is to, as unique as we want, you need storage. How about a shed?
I think we'd be back here with the request for a shed because of an additional. That's a question for William and Matt, but I think the neighbor erred in addressing the grade at Whitcomb. This is not applicable to our application. What you just said is it's the grade at the four corners of the structure where the variance is being requested. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So our grade as is extends past the garage. So our grade. Yeah.
It's our the third option.
Right.
We are desiring it and also applying it because we can.
Yeah.
So between the house and the garage, there'll be patio and planting. And so we'll grade around the garage to create the same height though at all.
And is the patio planting grade have been approved on a separate permit application. So our variance is 9.5 feet that we're requesting. And to the excessiveness, I think Jamie covered it in the presentation. Those roofs were steeper, but our project is at scale and consistent with the other projects that our applicant has done in the past on the project, and are architecturally correct. Doing something smaller or at a steeper pitch or smaller or a shed is not consistent with architecture that we spent significant money on.
Well, maybe Matt could say, could they have a new garage, but not a 9.5 foot variance, and then have for their storage situation, they add an accessory building, a shed that would.
Well, I haven't studied the site in depth, but based on the lot coverage that they
Yeah.
provided, they have more room to add additional structures.
So that's an alternative to the
Potentially, yeah.
additional.
I think that's creating an additional hardship for the client because the grade past the garage is like this. It's not something that's self-created. That's something that's been existing since the property was part of an estate and a garage thus carries house. The adding a shed to this property includes significant foundation work and additional grade. And then honestly, if we added a shed at the back of the property, I couldn't commit to drainage being better for adjacent landowners. It'd be even more difficult to provide proper drainage for the lot. It's an extreme hardship, what you're suggesting for our applicant.
Else? Anybody else on council? Welcome back and forth.
I just had
couple questions. Actually, Sierra, if you'd like to go first.
Yes, I have a question. So I did go out to the site and I saw that big drop in the back.
Yep.
I also, looked at photos of the house before the renovation. And it was hard for me to determine if that big drop in the back was there. Because that property prior was fully landscaped, it was beautiful. So could you elaborate on what happened there?
Sure, so not part of any of our projects, or when the homeowner who's owned the property for quite a while now, has been there, that grade's been existing for as long as I've been familiar with the property. And it was pretty mature growth. I don't think any construction project that I'm familiar with did that grade, and the grade's consistent with how Kirby slopes down to Lakeshore.
So what I viewed was not accurate, showing that even with the landscaping that was in at the time, it would not show, it just went down as a slope, and then that area was all landscape.
Our landscape, or the existing landscaping was extremely overgrown, so I'm not sure
Oh.
which pictures you used, but the grade has always been a drop.
It's always been a drop. It was, you exit the house onto a patio, and then they had a couple more, like a sub patio, maybe a step down, and then they had kind of in the middle, probably 4 or 5 steps down to a rolling into the lower
Oh, I see.
area, and that kind of accommodated the hill portion of, so what we're doing is we're pushing that out a little with the addition to grade and then grade, so it's recreating what they had before, it's just out further. So it'll go, and then there'll be a gradual push down.
And then the other question that I had, the colored photos that are attached, could we see those? Because it looks like there's landscaping, beautiful landscaping for the garage as well as for the house, and it looks all even.
Yes, we have, I did not pick the slope of the back, but if you go to the shot of the back of the house and garage. Yes, that one. Essentially past those hydrangea on the garage,
Yes.
that's when the slope will start.
Oh,
So we're gonna regrade up to the garage, accommodate a patio past the open porch. And then we start our grade down. And basically you're shifting the hill that was pushed close to the house back a little bit, but it's still recreating the same condition.
I would like to see what your plans are for that area before we make a decision. I would like to see that.
Okay,
Because
I'm
I did-
happy to show it. Does that pertain to the variance?
Well, so my concern is,
I mean,
the neighbor,
if
we have
that, if that's it, if we can make, if you want to make it a condition of the variance to show that it's gonna settle in and be more of a scale of a consistently graded lot. I'm happy to show it.
Yeah, additionally, as a condition for the variance, the applicant's willing to agree to screening along the fence line, which I think negates the majority of the neighbors' concern. But it looks largely as
I do have pictures. I went out and took pictures together. And if possible, Eric, would you be able to, if I give you my phone, like bring those pictures up so that the full council,
So you're talking about the Sierra, you want to block out the area next to the garage to the Riley's house, is that what you're saying?
will even
Further back.
with the garage, yes.
Yeah, with the garage, right. So we can make that as a condition.
So there's, it looks like it's two drops. Where there's a drop behind the house, then there's a drop behind the garage. I mean, if I had jumped down, I would have injured my knee.
Oh,
Right, right? We
absolutely,
would-
yeah,
that
and,
is
and
deep.
and it's in the midst of construction, so it's really hard to, you know, if this was just a garage and we weren't touching the house, we would be able to see a completely different picture, but we've
Oh, I
added
see.
an addition, so we've, you know, had
Did some
shovels
more
there.
digging, okay.
And we've
Thank you.
moved dirt, so currently, you know, it looks like it's gonna be this giant structure, but then we're going back in and filling in.
Okay, thank you.
So that
Thank you.
helps.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. It's a tough one because it's in the midst of another project that's already been approved and ongoing, so
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you for coming and explaining this to us. I too went out and looked at it, and I've done on the request of the neighbor who wrote the letter opposing this variance, or us granting this variance. He even said he'd go in his backyard to the look, which I took him off. And it is, it's tough for those people living on that other street, you know, to look at this, because it's quite huge. Is there any negotiations or is there any way that you can lessen that 9.5? I mean, I know that you want some storage, but does it have to be that high?
At a certain point, it will be a little bit useless in terms of headspace, but, and we're kind of looking at dollar amount that has to go onto a project these days and what you're gonna get out of is a kind of a concern as well. There's some wiggle room probably, but I'm not quite sure how we perceive the wiggle room versus the council.
All right, also, when we look at variances, we do want to know, as far as what some neighbors are saying, and you're answering one of the variance questions that this will increase the value of the neighborhood.
Right.
More value. However, I don't see any situation except for a letter opposing this in support of this variance that you're requesting. Do you have any neighbors that are? supporting
Yes,
this?
we do, and he just texted me, he's unable to make it today, it's the neighbor across the street, Richard White. He had a cough for the last couple of days, and he said he wasn't able to come in, but he was gonna attend, I didn't know if he was gonna write a letter or not.
Oh, thank you, that's all the questions I have.
I would also add to the scale on the neighbor property of the neighbors, the view from the neighbor's property, when you say it's huge, are you referencing the home or the garage that's 40 feet away? from you?
Imagine the garage.
So-
The home's already huge,
so-
what is there?
So
Talk about the garage.
there's also, the lot does support an attached garage. And at that point, we can attach it and, you know, go the full extent of our height of the house. And I would rather have this detached, charming little kind of garage versus a behemoth, you know, addition attached to the house. So that's kind of another viewpoint that I wanted to make, you know, kind of clear that there's other options, I guess, to get this through. We had an existing structure that we could add and modify and get accomplish what we wanted to. And that fit in a budget that worked a lot better than attaching a garage. And so this has been our.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a few, I guess my main question is, would you be agreeable to a condition that proposed that the expanded garage will not be rendered into a habitable space and will be used for the purposes of storage?
I think that's by nature of our application.
Yeah, I think the concern is we've talked about this before in other instances where This is a little bit unusual compared to some of the other cases where there is also both plumbing and electrical, obviously, at the garage. And so personally, I don't have a problem with over, garage living spaces, but as per our, zoning ordinances, that's not what we're permitting here. And so we wouldn't want the storage space to be then turned into a mother-in-law suite or something like that.
Well, I mean, by nature of the project, we'll have plumbing and electrical, but it's a storage space.
So the applicant be fine with a stipulation that says the proposed expanded garage will not be rendered into a habitable space and will only be used for the purposes of storage. I'll let you know, it won't be approved without that.
Honestly, I was gonna say, actually, that my understanding is that's already a condition of our variance request. So.
Yeah, I think it's, maybe
Yes.
a belt and suspender sort of a thing, but I know like sometimes we need that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing that I wanted to be, so there is the existing detached garage, and then you added an addition onto that in addition to the height variance that you're requesting here. You're requesting a height variance, but the proposed addition to it is permitted. And just to clarify, we talked about, you said a few different ways. The additions that have been put on so far did not require variances. They were just permitted projects. So this is the first time we've dealt with a variance for this particular project.
Correct.
Just wanted, because we had some discussions with fellow council members, just want to confirm that.
So the other two properties that we outlined in our presentation did require variances.
Yeah, no, the other ones, and to be clear, each variance request has to be dealt with on its own.
Of course.
Like, although, our decision in one thing doesn't necessarily pertain to a decision in the other one, so that's clear, but, we obviously have to consider what have we done before, and does this make sense? Okay, I think those are my questions for now.
All right, I've got some. Check. Do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. What are you doing with the attic on the house?
It's truss.
So when you built the second floor, taking off the old floor, you could have built an attic.
We would have been here asking for a height variance.
You could have built an attic in the second floor that you built.
It could have been done.
And it could have been
But-
storage. And it could have been storage, right?
But former permitted and completed project. Yes, and not.
So in some ways, it might be self-created because you didn't think about storage when you did the second floor.
Well, our client didn't even talk about the garage at that point. We didn't even touch the first floor. Now we're touching the first floor, so.
What is the height, because it's hard to read on your prints, of the second floor of the garage? So what's the headroom? I couldn't read it, it's too small.
The tower type said 8 feet.
So if it's only storage, why do you need 8 feet? I've got crawl space in my house, in my addition. I use my crawl space and I actually literally crawl into my space to put stuff. My attic, the 1948 section, of my house, the old part, I can get up in the attic, but I have to duck and I'm only 5'8", and I've got plenty of room for storage there. So why does it have to be 8 feet clearance? Because I'm assuming it's taller in the middle, so it's 8 feet on the side, but it's.
No.
8 feet from the floor to the
There-
apex of the roof?
Your wall is set at 5 feet, and then the roof springs from there.
So
then
at
the
the
stru-
apex, it's 8 feet.
Yeah, and so the structure is requiring a tower tie to hold the roof rafters together.
Do want to touch on one point, which I think is applicable or germane, so.
If it's applicable to my question.
Yeah, and height. and
Anything
height-
else, you can wait till I'm
And
done.
height in general, I mean, the variance application does explain why granting variance will not be detrimental to the neighboring property, not add value to the neighboring property. I feel that Jamie has drawn it to scale. to the existing house and it's architecturally correct. Dropping the height, don't have architecturally correct, it's not to scale, which ultimately could be detrimental to neighboring properties because it creates an eyesore.
I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. I added a whole first floor that's not as high as the other part of my house, and it's still scale. Even though it's only a one-story addition, it looks great. So I get it. Let me keep asking the questions. Let me go. So the question about if I could attach it, I might not need the variance. You realize you would need a side yard variance though, because it becomes a principal residence once you attach it.
I could do a single car garage, a car and a half. It's a 60-foot wide lot. I've got room.
Mr. Riley's letter also says there were a number of trees or screening that were removed. You're putting in hydrangea, great, beautiful. Do you have any other plans to screen the garage? Any other arborvitae, anything?
Mr. Riley's pictures were very conducive to his argument, and I would contend he.
And yours are very conducive to yours.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but that's again not my
I do want
question.
to say that the applicant spent 20 grand removing dead trees, one which was leaning on his house. There's an I know two of you at least went to the site. There's an existing 40-foot pine tree right in the area where we took out the dead tree that was leaning on the house, and the evidence is still there because the stump is in the ground. And I did say earlier, we make it a condition of variance to screen that fence line with arborvitae. Yes, our applicant's happy to do that.
I kind of bubbled, I wasn't quite sure.
He wants to, we
All right,
can add
that's
that.
fine. And then he also has, Mr. Riley has some concerns about, since we're changing a little bit of the slope, you're flattening it out a little bit for the garage, patio, there's an outdoor shower that he says drains to his house. Would you agree as a condition that any water slope issues that for your final grade, once you're done with the patio, once you're done with the addition, if you do get the garage, that it has to be approved by the city to be a proper regrading of the property to avoid any excess runoff to your neighbor's homes?
Well, I don't know that Terry would approve it if we did improper grading towards the lot as a closeout.
Well, but what we approve now is not, could sometimes be different than what you end up doing.
I'm sorry, I'm happy to make that a condition of variance because of it.
Yes, it's always a good.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
It's always a good. Trying to make it easy. All right, that's all I got. Anybody else on council? Good.
I just want to mention, I really think the whole hardship on this deal is no basement in the main house. It's on a slab, you don't, no storage underneath, and you're stuck with that. So I think that's an important fact.
Any other questions from the zoning board? All right, give us 2 seconds. Any comments from the public? Mr. Riley, come up, give us your name and address, please.
Hi. Mr. Wiley, 23 Rico Drive. Thank you very much for your time, for your questions, for the needs of the city. You've covered a lot of what I wanted to address. When we bought the house 12 years ago, you couldn't tell there was a house behind us. It was a forest of trees and a small 1.5-story house. We're fortunate to have a pool, an outdoor kitchen, fire pit area. We had friends over, they wouldn't even know the house. They came in because they had the right to do it, took down 4 or 5 trees, put up double the height of their house. Then they came back and didn't take out 1 rotting tree, they took out 5 tall mature trees. You can still see the stumps there. In September, and then the next week started building another large addition, all within the right to do so. We went from a nice private house to looked at it. It's, for most of the rooms, I can see right through my back living area, which is our kitchen and living room, with the big bay windows and slider because we didn't need privacy because we had it.
And again, that garage, it's, man, successful. It's not 8 foot in the middle, it's 8 foot all the way across the out there. It's big enough to be a home, it's 1200 square. 20 by 30 on each floor, 8 foot ceiling. And that lot has tremendous slope, as they pointed out. We already had some wet areas when rains on the fence, but they put the last addition on, the gutter was straight down into a little, or those 1 by 2 catch things that divert the water right down our road. There's no effort at that point to do the drainage. If you go to that one rendering that shows the side of the garage where the side entrance is. Yeah. So that side entrance is, that door is 26 inches above the current grade. So they have to build that entire area up to do that. They've also added that addition in the back, and that porch patio area is all what's ready right now. So we're losing about 1,000 square feet of green space there. That's going to be hard space. The water's got to go somewhere. When they raise that to go that side entrance door, which was directly across my backyard, somehow that additional 2 feet is going to drop back somewhere. So drainage is a major concern. Privacy is a major concern, and I really tend to agree with some of your questions. I don't understand why you need an 8 foot ceiling in the out of your garage. And they had adequate, Mr. Ritchie, I know you brought it up, but they had adequate opportunities through major renovations to add storage space. Is the basement nice? Yeah, but it wasn't there when they bought it. They knew what they bought. And your application says you can't create your own hardship. They said, hey, this house is so big now, the garage is in the scale, we don't have any place to store all this stuff. You know, that 20 by 18 addition they're building now, they put a foundation, they could have put a basement there. They've all come up. They could have created their hardship, they were getting it. So I'm, again, because of the slope, I said in the backyard, peak of the roof is about 31 feet high. So 6 foot arborvitae still do me a lot of it. If the condition was 10 or 15 foot arborvitaes, that would certainly be all. You know, it's just my issues are the privacy, and really, I think it's just such a very bad precedent. Success. That's not a correct. In my opinion. But thank you for your time. I don't know if you have any questions for me or what.
Mr. Riley, first of all, let me thank you and applaud you for writing an excellent letter. It's really well written, well described. I understand all your points here. I believe that the gentlemen have already spoken to the issue of stormwater. They're going to have a grading plan, and they're going to your discussion here and ours. I'm sure they're going to work with Matt to be sure that they don't shed water onto your property. Okay, that would be an assumption I would make. This would be something that would happen during the construction phase, and my guess is that they're going to take care of that issue. Yeah. Secondly, on your second page, you said that you write, we have been advised that if granted, this excessive garage structure would decrease our property value by more than $60,000. That's substantial. How do you arrive at that?
I talked to a local real estate appraiser and also real estate agent, and I think there was a misstatement in there. It basically said it was due to the total change of the landscape back there and the two and a half other additions to the house. So it wouldn't be just for that, but I mean, it's really because one of the key features of our house was the beautiful private backyard and house, and really now that whole thing just looks right down onto it. So I don't have a written estimate that I can agree with, but I think if you were there and saw before and after, I think McKenna report actually had an aerial photo of that lot. And if you see, you can't even see that because it was all photo. You can't even see 360 Carver in that picture. So
yeah, I went by the property today, and I know what you're saying. So in terms of backing up that or having a source for that number, you don't really have.
I don't.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Riley?
I have a quick comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Riley, I too appreciate your time. If permitted by the mayor, I'm going to make a motion to deny the dimension.
We gotta go to, we have to let him sit down and then have to see if there's any.
I understand. I'm making comments.
Oh,
Mr. Riley.
sorry, you got it.
I'm not making a motion.
Oh, you got it.
I said if permitted later.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
I said if permitted, I missed the later.
I'm going to make a motion later to deny the requested dimensional variance. I think this could have been worked out a long time ago. Removal of the trees, the barriers, the grading, the site, my goodness. I agree, you buy something, you have an adequate opportunity, you put 2 or 3 changes to the property, we need to work together. This could create bad precedent for the city of Grosse Pointe Farms to begin to allow, and we haven't done in the past, water, plumbing, 8-foot ceilings within a garage, merging into the accessory structure, the attached garage. I think it's dangerous. And I think this could have been worked out. I'd like to know if the applicant's here tonight, quite frankly. I'm disappointed if Mr. Rice isn't, but this should have been handled a lot differently a long time ago, by God. It really should have. Thank you.
Give us a time. Anybody else in the public want to comment? The applicant's representative will respond.
I mean, as far as, I just want to address property values first thing. We have a resident of Grosse Pointe Farms who lives in Boston and has put over $500,000 into what was an 1100 square foot home and is putting significantly more money into it. As far as property values go, I don't know what increases neighboring property values more than investment in your own home. And again, he lives in Boston, it's very busy. He values the community in which he grew up with, and so much that he comes here for the summers with his family. So that's why he's not here tonight.
So, Mr. Mayor, may I
Yeah.
finish here? So it's your statement then on the record that Mr. Rice is not a full-time resident of the city of Grosse Pointe Farms and that this is not his primary homestead. Is that accurate, sir? That he lives primarily in Boston, Massachusetts, and he summers here in the city of Grosse Pointe Farms. I just heard you correctly, didn't I, sir? Pardon me?
Sure.
Thank you.
As far as screening goes, in Mr. Riley's letter, Whitcomb's 5 feet below the grade of Carver, and our applicant has agreed to create ample screening along the fence line as a condition of variance. There's not a chance that he would see the door from his property. Again, he spends significant money on his property. There's many issues to address in the home over past projects for his family. Grading trees are things that he's addressing now, especially if they're leaning on his house and had to work with DTE to get them removed. I mean, I believe there is already precedent for this type of variance based on our application and the addresses we've already discussed.
Discussion, I will throw in some, John, it's funny you said that.
Pardon me?
It's funny you said, I have a new neighbor who was doing significant restoration to the house, renovation, and her contractor knocked on my door and said, we'd like to do this, would you like to do this together? And we designed it together. So the property line between my house and their house now, we sat down and talked about it, saw the plans, drew it out. They made some changes to deal with some questions I had. And perhaps we do need to not disagree on that at all. So I will entertain a motion of one way or the other. You have another comment?
Can I make a statement how I'm going to vote, or should I just vote? When I'm saying
You
I'm
can
gonna
say
vote?
yes if you'd like to say something. I will give it. You should say your vote. Just give us your
Well,
thoughts.
I'm gonna vote no. In my opinion, no practical difficulty of any consequence has been discussed here tonight. To the extent that there is practical difficulty, the problem is self-created. I mean, it's by design, nothing unique about the property that I can tell. Third is that alternatives exist. A shed could be added to create some storage for the gentleman. And the variance is just, it's very far out of our normal range. 9.5 feet is very excessive. That's 63% of the requirements. And for those reasons, I'm gonna vote no when I'm asked, like,
I want to thank everyone who came to speak with us. And it's unfortunate that, Mr. Rice didn't understand the importance of asking for a variance, and not appearing himself, or at least writing us a letter or something. To note that he was not able to be here. Because this is a community. It's just that, it's a community. And when we're trying to go to a zoning board for a variance, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to get that variance? You want to talk to your neighbors, because that's a community. This is a community. And to have no evidence that there's anything from the surrounding, and this is it's a pretty dense area. I mean, having been there twice, you've got a lot of community there that you simply could walk, what, 200 feet, knock on a door? Or send them a postcard or a note? For Grosse Pointe Farms, we really do value ourselves as a community, and understanding that community is founded very much on our neighbors and our codes and our building codes. So variances are a big deal. And that's something to take right. And I think that Mr. Rice underestimated, so I'm inclined to vote no.
I'll just say, based on what we can ascertain here, it doesn't appear like there are votes that would be necessary to pass this. I'm generally inclined to give residents and owners of property the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this. What the issue for me has been, where is the practical, how is this made necessary? And when we learn that the additions and the massing of these buildings are kind of what's requiring, at least from an architectural standpoint, the bigger garage, it just, the practical difficulty and the nature of this being just feels very self-created. And it's hard to, I'll go with the will of the council, frankly, or the zoning board. With the idea that, generally speaking, we like to give owners and the ability to do what they need to with their property, but this just doesn't seem generally within the character of what we've done.
All right. Do I have a motion?
May I make a motion, Mr. Mayor?
You may.
Mayor, with respect to the applicant, I move to deny the request for a dimensional variance at 360 Carver within the city of Grosse Pointe Farms, on the basis that any harm has been self-created, and that the applicant has not made its threshold showing of practical difficulty, in that it is not, a practical difficulty has not been demonstrated.
Support. All right, roll call, Mr. Zicki.
Councilmember Wood. Aye. Or yes.
Yes,
Sorry?
vote means deny.
Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Wilbur.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie.
No.
Mayor Zeros.
Yes.
Councilmember Donovan.
No.
Councilmember Stoll.
No.
Councilmember
Yes.
Motion carries
4-3. Yes, motion carries 4-3. That does not prevent you from giving us an alternative plan sometime in the future. I suggest that Mr. Riley, I think there was an indication on your application that you talked to all the neighbors. I recommend that you do that if you didn't this time, and have them sign off on it and come up with something that is a better plan for us all. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item, no, do I have a motion to adjourn as the Board of Zoning Appeals and to reconvene as the City Council? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 for the City Council, consideration of a site plan for 220 Country Club Drive, Country Club of Detroit. Applicants, please come and give us the names and addresses, please.
Good evening, my name is John Vitale, and I'm with the firm Stuckey and Vitale Architects, 27172 Woodward Avenue, Royal Oaks. I'm here this evening to present a condition that's being requested by Country Club of Detroit This is what we're calling an environmental building. So this building will help golf services bring them into the, into full compliance with all the new required environmental conditions that require a lot of the products that they use today to take care of the golf course. So it's a small, about a 3,000 square foot building. The building is located within their golf services area. Some years ago, we provided golf storage, cart storage building, and their current offices for certain golf services and some other maintenance buildings. It is located right in that same vicinity of those buildings. I do have a rendering, as you can see that. The materials that we're using for the building are very much the same materials that match the existing buildings that are there. We have a colored split face block and a colored ground face block, the same colors of the existing maintenance building. A dark taupe colored metal roof will be on the building. The building allows for storage of chemicals in addition to providing areas within the property to wash, maintain vehicles that they use for spreading fertilizers and so on in the operation of the golf course. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about it.
Anybody have any questions for that?
To be clear, the location is back in, it's not up at number 1P.
No,
It's over,
it's
back behind the polo field, all the way back to where the big mounds of dirt are.
correct.
And where they have all
It's really adjoining the existing golf services buildings right now.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we are providing some additional trees to screen the building from the golf course. So I think that the building is actually partially already screened by the existing building. So I think the building will be pretty difficult to see from the environmental.
the. Louis, one more question if I could. My only particular concern is the color of the roof. The pictures we've got here are all in color, or in black and white. I remember several years ago, we had, I don't know if you're involved with that.
I was, yes.
It was, I think the country club said, well, we're gonna have a, orange roof or a red.
We had a red roof
Red
at one
roof.
point,
All
yes.
right, that didn't go over particularly well with many people. So can we just ask you to match the color of the building that?
Yeah, exactly. We'll be matching the exact same color that's on the current building, which is kind of like a dark bronze color.
Anyone else? I have a list of questions for Mr. West, just kidding. For those of you who are here a decade or so. All right, having no other questions, anybody in the public have any questions on this agenda item? Yep. Guess I'm gonna come on.
Way in the back here.
You gotta come up to the podium, sorry. Mics are good, but not that good.
I was just trying to figure out where is the location of this building going to be? I couldn't understand. It's in back the old polo field.
It's where the two existing, where the two existing buildings are tucked in on that parking lot behind the one.
I will never see it. So, I mean, 380 Ross.
Okay, yeah, now you won't see it, yeah, it'll be behind the other one. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, what's your name for the record again?
Jim West.
Another West, there you go, not Marty.
Marty's cousin.
Condolences.
What was your address, Mr. West?
380 Ross.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, anybody else in the public? All right, seeing none, public comment is closed. What's the pleasure of the council?
I have a motion.
Go ahead there. Mr. Wood?
I move that the city council approve the site plan submitted on January 19th, 2024 by Mr. John Vitale, project manager, for the construction of a new 2,900 square foot environmental building at Country Club of Detroit, located at 22 Country Club Drive, 220 Country Club Drive. The motion is based on a review of Matt Baca's memo dated February 12th, 2024, an analysis by McKenna dated February 1st, and the applicant's site plans application dated January 19th. Approval of the site plan is based on the following: the proposed building will not represent a nuisance to the adjacent residential area and is consistent with the intent of the Community Recreation Zoning District. There are no letters of objection. There are no public safety concerns regarding resulting from the new building. The proposed new building does not present any concerns with dimensional requirements of the ordinance. The proposed new building does not affect vehicle travel flow or demand additional government resources or additional parking. Approval of the site plan is based upon the following conditions. Color of the roof will match the color of the adjacent buildings. That's my motion.
Motion. Support?
Support.
All right, Mr. Kazicki?
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Wolverine.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Yes.
Mayor Darrow.
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett.
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes. Don't you wish you guys went through?
Thank you. Thank you. Well done.
All right, item 5, presentation of a mayoral proclamation honoring Michigan Wolverine teammates Will Johnson and Joey Klunder on the 2024 College Football Playoff National Championship.
Yay.
Yay, they are Grosse Pointe South alumni, and they are both on the Michigan football team. So you have the proclamation in front of you. I don't think I need to read the whole thing, but it's a congratulations to these 2 players. So do I have a motion to, do I have a motion or just? Not for mayoral.
No, you're.
No, it's just my thing. Sign it. I signed it, and it's going to go out to the players and their families, so just want everybody to know about it.
Great.
It was a great game, that's why I missed the January meeting, I was there, sorry. Go Blue, that was awesome. All right, item 7, consent agenda, would anybody like anything removed from the consent agenda for individual consideration? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted?
Motion.
Support. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Reports, you have public safety and the financial report. I will start with other business with Shane and then Councilwoman Dowden.
Just other business, a couple of things. Our city clerk has been very busy preparing for the upcoming presidential primary election and a lot of the changes in election law. So we actually will have early voting here at City Hall starting Saturday from 8:30 to 4:30, and that will continue through February 25th. And then for our general election will be held at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial Tuesday, November 27th, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it's going to be a little bit different, but we think it's going to be more convenient for our residents and a good primer for obviously a much busier election coming up with the August primary and November general election. Next Monday is President's Day. City Hall will be closed, but rubbish collection and recycling will stay on schedule, so there'll be no changes there. And last, I'm going to request that council enter a brief closed session following our regular meeting tonight, with no action being taken after that closed session. Discuss the real estate matter.
Sarah?
All right. So I would like to take this time to express my sincere appreciation for the outstanding volunteer service of Kendra Bickford, who has served on the Beautification Advisory Commission for 18 years. And what's one of her most significant contributions is that I joined the commission in about 2015, and she has a near record perfect attendance of supporting all of our events and programming, and including the DPW luncheon that the commission hosts. Also, Elizabeth Cleveland, who has 12 years, and she's entering her 13th year. And what's one of her most significant contributions is her note keeping, which led to she and I sitting down and revising the beautification award guidelines. And we literally are building upon that blueprint every year. And that was a big big thing that we did. So I just want to acknowledge them publicly and just thank them for all of their service. Okay, now, as you all are aware, or may not be aware, February is Black History Month. And this is a special time for me, just as an African American, and also being a public official, an elected official, which I never, ever had a dream for that. But this community and staff, administration, to the city leaders, our police, public service, is just outstanding. I don't like to reinvent the wheel. So what I did was, what we did before, I pulled up the White House's proclamation. And I want to just read a few things. This is President Biden, and I'm going to quote him. I call upon public officials, educators, librarians, and all the people of the United States to observe this month with relevant programs, ceremonies, and activities. This National Black History Month, we celebrate the vast contributions of Black Americans to our country and recognize that Black history is American history, and that Black culture, stories, and triumphs are at the core of who we are as a nation. Throughout our history, Black Americans have never given up on the promise of America. And I believe in this country and the ideals by which it was founded upon. To make it a little bit more personal, and Honorable Mayor, I think you will appreciate the story. So a couple of weeks ago, I attended a funeral, because I'm gonna bring it all the way back to the points of a gentleman by the name of Joseph M. Fittler. He is, or was, he recently passed, was an international producer, DJ. He was such a creative in the whole world of music and art. He was responsible years ago of cultivating a young man by the name of Jay Dilla. He groomed his career, and today we have Jay Dilla Day, that is, Jay Dilla died of lupus. But today, Jay Dilla is celebrated all over the world. Now, how am I going to tie this into the points? Mr. Fittler collaborated with two other outstanding music producers and DJs with their own record labels. One lives right here in our community by the name of Eddie Folks. Another one by the name of Carl Craig. These are also international producers and DJs that just make beautiful music and have been either nominated for Grammys or nominated and won Grammys. The second person is Carl Craig, who lives in Grosse Pointe Park. Now, the one I'm really, really excited about, and I need to show you all this. So this is one of AMP's albums. Okay, this is one of his albums. Now, this man, along with—
You can say it's an album because it's vinyl.
It's vinyl. Here you go, it's vinyl. Now, I haven't cracked this open yet. And when I got this in the mail, I'm so excited. So this is KDJ Records. His name is Kenny Dixon Jr. He is also an international producer and DJ. He owns two record labels called Mahogany Music and KDJ Records. Now, what is so special about this man? And this is, so now, he is now sponsored by 5 different, probably Fortune 500 companies. I was in a video of, he just got sponsored by a Swiss watch company, and they came here from Switzerland and made a video, and I was in that video. He is now sponsored by Crown Royal, but just as wonderful, our dear, beloved, great late Gretchen Millay was his first sponsor, International Carhartt. And this is how it ties into the great people that we live here that are philanthropists, and how they touch the lives of so many people, including African Americans. And when I think of our children, regardless of what color they are, I think about the role models that they have in their life, that they continuously need in their lives, as I sure had them. So as my fellow council people, honorable mayor, and all of you, including you that are in the audience, I personally want to say thank you, because you'd be surprised how one little thing we've done really is like a pebble in the water, it reverberates out. And Joe Ritchie worked with Eddie Folks from the Farms. You worked with his uncle, I believe his uncle. So I just wanted to give this shout out to the 2 residents that live in the Plains and how Gretchen touched the lives of Moody Man. And as a matter of fact, he worked hard so much. They learned about it and said, you know, we need a partnership. And they end up making a record bag just for him. And so that record bag is sold all over the world. Okay, I am complete and thank you for listening.
Here.
Thank you.
So much, I'm glad you did that. Mine would not have been attend this, guys, so excellent.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other business, from the city council? I will make one comment on the police report, because I always do this. 5 larcenies of vehicles. How many, on the audience, there might be a free candy out there, how many of the 5 were unlocked? Close, 4 out of 5. Same as dentists, say 2 dentists. All right, any comments from the public? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sarah. Very well said. Happy Black History Month, and we're going into closed session, not reconvening. So have a safe week, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day to your significant others, or to your parents, or to your children, or to whomever you love. Yeah, it's all elections. It's all elections. No excuses. Be sick tomorrow. Hey, our